Up next on the Create Happy Now podcast with the return of one of my guests, Christine Catoggio. When I met Christine and heard her transformational story, I swore she was my twin. Christine is a transformational coach who helps her clients redesign their life. Today, we're going to talk about how her vision mapping and her intuitive coaching helps her clients actually peel away their beliefs and dig into their subconscious desires.
One time during one of my vision board workshops, someone kept putting dollar signs and pictures of, fancy cars and fancy houses. And I'm like, so what does all that mean? And she says, I need to make more money. Well, what do you mean? If I had the money, I could buy this. And ultimately, she wants security. She wants the freedom to be able to spend more time with her grandkids. And, so you start to unveil that. And when you start to do that, it's right there.
It's there all the time.
Yeah.
It's like a sculptor that has to chip away at it till you find it. It's there.
It's there.
You don't have to create it. It's innately there. Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our masters of happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. Christine is a certified transformation coach, speaker, and author. Christine empowers professionals and entrepreneurs who are ready to take charge of their life and uncover their true potential and design a life that they desire for themselves. With over 20 years as a life transition strategist, Christine has developed the talents and skills to guide her clients through the transitions in their life with an emphasis not just on surviving, but thriving. By finding clarity, happiness, and fulfillment, she supports them through creating a vision for the life that they desire and a blueprint to achieve it. So glad you're here. I can't wait to hear so much more. I know we met a little while ago, but I've been waiting to hear about you and how you started your transformation. And so everybody can get a chance to be inspired by your story. Can you tell us how you got started?
Oh, great. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. I grew up at a time where I was the perfect little girl and always did everything that was expected of me. And I know there's so many women who can relate with that. We were the good girls, never did anything wrong and did everything for everyone else. And then there was a point in my life, where I followed the script. I, got married, had children. And down the road, some things happened and my marriage started to unravel. And for the first time in my life, I realized that I was always doing and taking care of everyone else, and I wasn't taking care of me. Heard that story before, right?
I think you're telling my story, Christine.
And let me tell you, there are so many women who tell the same story because it's a time that we grew up and that was what it was expected. We did everything that we were supposed to do. I always say that with the little air quotes around it. We were supposed to do. And so then I went on this journey to figure out who I was because, I was someone's daughter, I was someone's wife, I was someone's mother, but I didn't know who Christine was. And I realized that, I became the yes girl. It was like, can you do this? Sure. Will you do this for me? Sure. It was always for yesing everyone else, regardless of how I felt.
You're a yes woman.
We're yes woman, right? And I remember, when after my divorce, when I first started dating and I went out to dinner and I didn't know what to order on the menu because I usually ordered, I'd see what the kids were ordering and figure out what our budget was. And then, well, they could have the steak. All right, I'll have the hamburger. It was always doing for everyone else, allowing them. And I didn't know how to order for myself. I barely knew what to where to go out anymore. I was the mom.
Oh my gosh. I think you're speaking to so many people that Um, it, I mean, it's just mirrors like everything that I went through. I mean, when you're just saying you didn't know what to order on the menu, and I'm like, that was me. Like, I didn't even know what I wanted. Like, what do you want, Susan? I don't know.
I don't know. I know. So it really is hard to uncover, and that's, uncover the person that we are because we become so used to being someone else and, playing that role and without even realizing that we're not true to ourselves. We have this mask on. And I think a big realization for me was, even though for a while I had this perfect life, we had a beautiful family, we had a beautiful business, we had a beautiful home. And I never really thought about the fact that I wasn't truly happy. And so I really went on a journey of self-discovery. I really had to figure out who was I, and what made me happy. And I tried a lot of different things. I did all the programs. I had a few coaches that helped me through different areas. I did some energy work. But really when I started, and actually there's a book that really triggered something in me, and it's called Healing the Heart and Soul. And I forgot who the author is. I'll have to share that with you down the road. But that really got me thinking about the healing that it really needed to do, that it's not surface healing. It really goes very deep.
Yeah.
Because for us to be that way and so devoid of those feelings of self, we really need to peel some layers away and really get deep as to what's important to us and what our values are. And this book really helped me through that process. And then, of course, a lot of things happen in life that we learn from and we grow from. And therein, I became the Life Transition Strategist because I had been through so much of helping myself. I really became the go-to person for a lot of my friends. They were like, how did you do it? You went through this. How did you do it? Help me. And that really was what led me to helping other women. And so I had created the Women of Rise community because Rise was a divine download in the middle of the night, and I didn't know exactly what it meant, but ultimately it's an acronym for Reclaim Inner Soul Energy, which is getting to the core of who we really are. And as I said, it's really peeling the layers. And I started the community because there are so many other women who were going through some major transition or trauma in their life that really needed to get down to the core so that they could heal. And it really was quite a journey. And in helping others, I started to continue to heal myself even more. And I still do. I mean, healing is an ongoing process. We're never really done. We don't realize, how many layers deep so much of our childhood traumas really are. And I say childhood because I think so much of that is formed when we're younger.
It sure is, because I've been told that we really don't form our own opinions and our own beliefs until we're age 7. So anything before that's actually handed to us.
Yeah. And I think we absorb. We just, we're little sponges up until that point, and we absorb everyone else's energies. And I recently had this discussion with my brother because we were talking about our parents and some of the ways that our parents reared us. And, we realized they did the best they could with what they had, but so much of what they carry on, had we not done work on ourselves, we would not have broken the cycle.
Right.
And I think that's really what happens is by doing that work on ourselves, we do really help break the cycle for the future generations, because they didn't know any better. They just, treated us the way their parents treated them. And we kind of, we start to do the same thing until something, a boulder hits us in the head. And then we get wise and say, okay, I need to do something about this, and I did do some therapy as well. Some therapy helps. We can't do everything ourselves. And I did have some excellent coaches that helped me as well. So it really is a process, and it really is, I think we grow through all of that. We really, we really get to that stage where we're older, but we're wiser. We're so much wiser. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And, it sounds to me like, you really help your clients with more of like the rejuvenation of, not only, I mean, once you kind of shaken some beliefs, you also need to realize you've got to balance that rejuvenation, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I call it reawaken, refine, and redesign your life. And the reawaken is really bringing to life the things that are dormant, whether it be ambitions or dreams or the things that we've set aside or maybe forgotten about because we weren't allowed to, whether it be a sport or a hobby or a career. So many of us kind of, shovel it under and say, okay, well, I have to be more responsible. I can't, take that route. Or just because, maybe our parents decide they want us to be doctors. So we go to medical school and then we get there and like, what am I doing here?
What am I doing here? Right. So did you have any hobbies that you relinquished that you loved?
I want to say, well, actually there is one. Yeah, I kind of did. I was very into photography when I was in college. And I remember my dad saying, do you know how much a credit that's costing me for you to take pictures?
Oh,
And, so then I did find, then I felt, of course, guilt that, I should be taking something else. But, that back then we had electives. To me, it was an elective. But so that is something that even to this day, I really want to get back into because it was something I loved. And because I am such a, I do love nature and the beauty outside. And I really want to be able to capture that as well as, so many other things. But yeah, I really did love that. And I think that was really my creative spirit back then.
I was just about to say that
Mm-hmm.
the creative side, when we're immersed in being a mother and wife and trying to live the life that it was expected of us, we put down that creative side of us. I mean, it just got laid down, put in a drawer, and shut and locked up for a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, and there again, it's if the hobby is somewhat expensive, we take all of that into consideration, and there's something else we should be doing so we don't spend the money on ourselves. And, and I see so much of that, especially, with the midlife redesign. I see so many women who have set aside so many of their dreams, and some of it is dancing. It's a lot. Most of it is creative. It's dancing, it's music, it's singing. Back in grade school, somebody said, that they can't sing. And so they set aside that talent, and that talent is just waiting to come out. And like once they, start immersing themselves in it, there it is. It's amazing. I think of that a lot when I watch shows like The Voice, and you hear some of people's stories about how, well, I set this aside because I had to do this. And so much, so many of us do that.
Look at Susan Boyle, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, we really need to reawaken those because, I'm a strong proponent in nurturing the soul. And the soul holds all our gifts. It has everything we need. We just need to tap into it. So
right.
Whether it be a talent or even, learning to take care of ourselves, nurtures our soul. It's another thing as women we don't do is we don't practice the self-care and being able to really bring those talents and abilities to life. I mean, that's really nurturing the soul. And our soul speaks to us all the time, and we shut it down as women. We shut it down all the time for other reasons.
Well, I think a lot of self-care um, gets put into the bucket of selfishness that we've been programmed not to be. And so if we take time for ourselves, we have that little guilt or something like, oh, I'm going to go get my nails done. And then someone says, well, can you take me to practice? And you're like, okay. So you end up sacrificing something you wanted to do for yourself for someone else. And
Right.
after a while that builds up. And I think a lot of it has to do with not setting boundaries to give yourself that chance to regroup and recharge and love yourself enough.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And when you use the word boundaries, you reminded me, as kids, we always are told to color in the lines. And I use this a lot when I do my vision workshops, and I tell my clients, there are no lines. The only lines are the ones that we set for ourselves. And I think, growing up with that mentality is why we limit ourselves to everything that's possible for our life, because we're so used to boundaries, those type of boundaries, and staying in the lines that we forget how to get at. I say there is no box, kick the box to the curb. There is no box. We put ourselves in the box. And so we really need to think about, we're limitless. Possibilities are limitless. But because of the color in the lines type of mentality that we're raised with, we do set boundaries, but the wrong kind of boundaries. We don't set the right ones for ourselves, like, let me, nurture my soul. It's really more about, this is what you're supposed to do. Stay in this box.
That's so true. And being mindful of that now can help you, with your children and grandchildren, to, instead of giving them a coloring book to color in the lines, just give them free space.
Yes.
I mean, it was funny when you said, about coloring in the lines. I have a strong kindergarten memory of being pulled aside because I was not coloring in the lines. And I'm actually an artist. I do pet portraits on the side, here and there. And, if I had listened to that for all my life, I may have not have gone in that direction, So
Yeah.
it's definitely impactful for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And so, so many of us don't nurture those talents and abilities. And that's, I'm big about finding your passion and purpose, because especially as you get older, when you don't have all the child rearing responsibilities and, you look for fulfillment, it's like, well, how do I find fulfillment? Well, I always say, what did you like to do as a child? Start bringing those things to life again. That's where the reawaken comes in. Bring those things back to life. Just dip your toe in, see what it is that you like to do. Because, as an older midlife, I'm not that I'm that much older, but, being in midlife, we forget how to have fun. We forget the things that we like to do.
Oh,
So we
isn't that
really
true?
need to try different things and see what we like.
Right, without limitation.
Yes.
And that's the hardest part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if you try to, like you were talking about in looking at a menu, you were like, okay, well, how much are we going to spend? Instead of just getting what you want, no matter how much it is.
Right. Yeah. And I, I used to laugh all the time because when my kids were younger, my oldest daughter, we always knew she was going to have steak and the youngest one was going to have chicken nuggets. And so, but they knew exactly what they wanted. And I'd be the one sitting there saying, okay, adding the numbers up. Like, do we have a budget for all of this?
Right. Right. And you're not even missing the steak because your focus is on making sure everybody's getting what they want.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But, like I said earlier, the happiness really is within. We need to find ways to bring it to life and to reclaim it and to bring it to the surface. Let it bubble up. Be happy.
So when, you said you help people reawaken and refine and redesign their life. So how do you get started? Like, how do you, like, if someone were to come to you and say, I really want a transformation, where do you start?
Well, first we start there again. It's a lot of digging deep. It really is. Because most people don't ever really think about what it is that they want. And so we do a lot of work on figuring out and finding what it is they truly want for their life. And that's why I love doing the vision work, because I have systems and exercises and ways to help uncover a lot of that. So, which are really, I love doing the experientials because I always see the ahas and the light bulbs go off. And so we start there, and that's part of the reawakening. There's a lot of work that goes into that for the reawakening. And then
I was just going to ask, what do you mean by the experimentals or
experientials?
Experientials.
Yeah, it's exercises and ways of helping people uncover. It's different things that we do, exercises that helps them kind of uncover their feelings or their thoughts, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, now I see it. Like it just it brings things to life. It really does when they do the exercises themselves. And those are always fun to do. They're fun for me to see them having the ahas, but it's fun for them too, because especially when you're trying to help someone uncover what they truly want for their life, you have to, there again, it's a peeling the onion kind of thing. So you have to have creative ways of helping them uncover that. And so I have a lot of really, through the years, all the great exercises and things that I've done with them to help them do that. And then the refinement is all about them figuring out what's not working in their life. So now that you know what it is, more of what you want to bring to life, well, what needs to change? What do you need to get rid of to make room for the new to come in? And that's the refinement process. And that's very typically coach oriented, about looking at all the different areas of your life and seeing where you're in balance and where you're out of balance. So that's a great process as far as that. And then the redesign, that's, as you mentioned earlier in the intro, that's the blueprint. That's really, I'm a student of The Wizard of Oz. And I always say, Dorothy knew she needed to get to Oz. And she knew she needed to follow the yellow brick road. So, right. You need to know where you're going so you can figure out how to get there. So once you figure out what your Oz truly is, what it is you want to accomplish and achieve for yourself, then the rest is easy. You work backwards. What are the steps you need to get you there, starting from now?
I think too, some people have problems coming up with their why.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you have to have that too. When you have your Oz, you have to have the why.
The why. And that's a big part of the reawakening too. Because once we start doing that work, it becomes more and more obvious. And there again, when I do it in the vision mapping, it's really a peeling away. I'll give you an example. One time during one of my vision board workshops, someone kept putting dollar signs and pictures of, fancy cars and fancy houses. And I'm like, so what does all that mean? And she says, I need to make more money. And I'm like, okay, we all want a boatload of money, but what does that mean to you? And she's like, well, what do you mean? If I had the money, I could buy this. And I'm like, no, 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 no. What is the emotion that's attached? What is it you're ultimately looking for? What is having that house and that car? And what is that sense that you're going to derive from having all that? What's the feeling that's attached? And so we had to, do some work to just kind of peel away and peel away and peel away. And ultimately, she wants security. She wants the freedom to be able to spend more time with her grandkids. And, so you start to unveil that. And when you start to do that, the Oz just kind of, it's right there. It's right there.
It's there all the time.
Yeah.
It's like a sculptor that has to chip away at it till you find it. It's there.
It's there.
You don't have to create it. It's innately there.
Yeah. And it's a process. It's a process to be able to see that, because we don't think that way. Most of us don't think that way. Right. We see the obvious. We see what's immediately in front of us. We don't dig deep into the feelings. And what's the feeling that is going to give you? What are you going to accomplish by having that? Is what emotion is it going to bring to life? So it's a fun process, but it's also it's work. It is work, and I think for some people, they kind of expect when they're working with a coach that, okay, this is what I want. So, all right, so 6 weeks. Okay, great. So at the end of 6 weeks, you're going to tell me, how to create the best life for me. And I'm like, no, at the end of 6 weeks, you're going to uncover what it is that you want for your best life. And once they figure out they have to do the work, it's like, oh, you mean you don't do that for me?
Right. So tell the listeners how, you're different as a coach.
I have an innate ability to see what people are saying and what they truly want. When I hear people define what they think they want, I can see it. I can see what they're really trying to get to. I can, and probably from working with so many clients through the years, I can kind of peel away, what the bottom line is. And it becomes very obvious to me. So it helps me in guiding them to get to that, because I already have that sense of where they're really going, what it is they truly want. I just have to help them figure out how they're going to get there and help them see it.
So you kind of read between the lines. Like they say one thing and you're like, I see, this is what you probably are really saying.
Yeah, I'm a little intuitive.
But when you do this transformation, you do become more intuitive.
You do. Yes.
Right? It's not because you were born intuitive. You can reach that. Right?
Yeah. Most definitely.
So everybody can get to that point if they truly want to.
Well, because you're actually, you're getting to the core. You're getting to the core of who you are. And as soon as you can get to that point, so much of the facade that we've been raised with just kind of, the veil is lifted, the facade kind of goes away and the veil is lifted, and you can, all of a sudden you can see like, oh, wow, I see it now. You get it. Right.
The light bulb goes on.
Oh, I love those moments.
It's fun because then you get more clarity, answers that are coming from within instead of just a justification you're trying to seek from around you. You're getting it from a deeper wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. And we were talking about mindfulness earlier, and that's really, the present moment awareness and getting to that place of mindfulness really helps you hear the answers, out of the ego brain. You really can hear it from the soul. You can really know the answers are inside of us. It's just like Dorothy, you've always had it, my dear. You just need to learn to tune in.
That's so true. And, I think also, um, as you peel back the layers, and I think what you're talking about are beliefs that are blocking
Yes.
that connection, that's the sculptor chipping away at getting rid of all those beliefs that aren't serving us, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's painful to get to that point because, most of it is fear-based because we don't know what it's going to look like when we start to change that our thinking or when we step out of our comfort zone. But that's where all the work happens. That's where it all starts, is just being able to step through those fears and surrender.
Well, and releasing a belief is is a kind of a little mini enlightening, I guess, in and of itself, because sometimes as soon as you discover a belief that seems, well, why am I believing that? It seems kind of silly. It can vanish instantly. It
Yeah.
can, right?
hmm Definitely, definitely. And there's a lot of different ways that I do that with my clients. And it really is just like you said, things that we've held on to that have held us back for years. All of a sudden you're like, wow, like it's gone. Why did I think that? You know,
Right. And how much of my life I wasted believing that.
believing it. Yeah, yeah. But there again, it's a process. It really is a process. And it takes some work to get through it. But once you get through it, oh gosh, it's, that feel the fear and do it anyway. Just get through it. Once you step through that fear, it's a whole new world.
So, how can someone work with you?
Well, I do one-on-one coaching. I also offer a number of programs depending on a person's commitment and how much work that they are willing to do and what they need to do to create what it is they want for themselves. But I do the one-on coaching, and I also offer a lot of free coaching calls and programs that I offer on Zoom calls, especially now during COVID. So I'm always out there offering my advice online and social media, and people can email me. I'm very available. I'm very out there, and ask me questions. And we can always schedule, just a 30-minute complimentary consult and see how we could work together.
What's the best way for them to find you?
Well, anywhere on social media, I'm everywhere. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, and they can email me at ChristineCatoggio.com. That's ChristineCatoggio. I'm sorry, it's at Outlook.com.
Excellent, excellent. It's definitely worth, visiting there and checking out that. Now you had, so you're offering a complimentary coaching session.
It's actually, well, I always offer a 30-minute complimentary session.
Oh, the 30 minutes.
But for your listeners, I'm offering a 90-minute vision mapping session.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
That's really
and
good.
that's an awesome opportunity. And we do an hour before to prepare for the 90 minutes. And then we also do an hour follow-up. And it's pretty intense because we try and squeeze a lot in there, but we do a whole mapping session that really gives you some clarity and some direction. And it's a great start into the actual creating the vision for your life. It really does give you a sense of direction. So it's an awesome way to start. And we can post my calendar link so they can schedule a 30-minute with me. And then from there, we can schedule the hour and then the 90 minutes. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, can you leave the listeners with one of your favorite quotes?
yes, I sure can. And I know we talked about this, and everything that we talked about is really finding ways to empower ourselves in our life. And so my favorite quote is, which is my quote, to be fully empowered in your life, you must reclaim those lost parts of yourself.
Exactly. Oh, I love that one. Now, with with every show, we end with a happy hack, which is a fun little tool or tip that you can leave with our listeners that they can apply today. They can try it out, and maybe help them get a little nudge on their journey to creating happy now. What's your happy hack, Christine?
Well, I have this little thing that I do, and I kind of gave a hint about it earlier. I say a few times a day, I say, I am so grateful for. And I say it in the morning, I say it in the evening, I say it even if I'm paying a bill, because when we find things that we are grateful for, we really, it diminishes any sad or blue feelings we may have, and it really helps us appreciate all that we do have. So if you can just, say, I am thankful for the coffee pot works this morning, or I am thankful that I have the money in the bank to pay this bill that is due. And just always say in the course of the day, I am so thankful for, I am so thankful for, or I am grateful for. As you do things in the course of the day, I am grateful that Zoom is working tonight. Whatever it might be, appreciate the things that you have, because the more you do, the better you feel about life itself.
Oh gosh, that's like the best advice, especially if you're not feeling too great. You just gotta stop and go, all right, just switch gears and what's going right.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And we need to stay focused on the good things in our life and not the negative.
Absolutely. Well, Christine, it's been amazing speaking with you. I mean, just, my heart just touches you because we're so alike, and you're just dreamy to talk to. I could talk to you all day, and you have so much to give. The transformation coaching that you have and the vision mapping. I want to go through it myself too.
We can arrange that.
I'm always up for stuff like that. So thank you so much. We definitely would love to have you back on the show for sure. So
thank you so much, Susan. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for listening to episode 15 of the Create Happy Now podcast with Christine Catoggio. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review, and you can get a free meditation by yours truly by going to the link in the episode description as my thanks to you. On our next show, Michelle Mirapore will be back. Michelle has an amazing story of big life decisions and sacrifices she had to make, her rise to freedom with courage, and the help of her Eat, Pray, Love experience. Catch Create Happy Now on YouTube with podcast recordings and additional videos. Keep a lookout for Create Happy Now Facebook group, courses, books, and more. If you would like to stay on top of Create Happy Now creation, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel so you can start your journey to Create Happy Now. You can also find Create Happy Now on Spotify, iTunes,